Hello, it's Feather, and today I'm going to be giving you part 1 of my June wrap-up. June's only half over and I've already read 5 books, so I thought it would be a good idea to do half my wrap-up now instead of saving everything for a super huge wrap-up at the end of the month. The first book I read was In Real Life by Cory Doctorow and Jen Wang. This is a graphic novel about a girl who is interested in this massive multiplayer online role-playing game, otherwise known as an MMORPG, called Course Gold, and she actually finds out about this game from a guest speaker at her school who comes and inspires girls to join this all-female guild in this game as a way to inspire girls to be proud of who they are as gamers. I'm not a gamer myself, but I do know that there is a lot of girls who play games online and they present themselves as male characters because of how society is and how females are looked upon. So this guest speaker at this girl's school comes in and tries to encourage women to be proud of who they are, not only online but also in society. And so I really like that aspect of this graphic novel. While this girl is playing Course Gold, her name is Anda, sorry, I should stop referring to her as this girl. So Anda, she's playing this online game and she meets a gold farmer, and gold farmers are people who play the game illegally to get items and then sell them for real money, like in the real world. And so since that is illegal, Anda joins up with this other girl and they destroy gold farmers. And Anda, she starts to befriend one of these gold farmers who is living in China, and that's actually his job in China, is to be a gold farmer. At first, Anda thinks she's doing the right thing by destroying all these gold farmers, but then once she befriends one and then sees there's more social, bigger issues going on at play here, she kind of starts to change her mind. Okay, so the things I did like about this graphic novel, the artwork was adorable. It was actually just really cute. I could really tell the difference between the artwork that was taking place in real life and artwork that was taking place in the game. Illustrator did a very good job differentiating between Anda's two worlds, her reality and her in-game persona. I also really like the feminism aspect of this. The guest speaker coming into the school and encouraging girls to band together and to change gaming society to be more female positive. However, I guess this might just be the teacher in me, but I was really uncomfortable with the school being okay with encouraging students to play an MMORPG, especially because they're minors and there's not really any supervision or restrictions, and also it's a paid subscription game. I was a little uncomfortable with that. I think there should have been, permission forms, parental approval, but that's just me. Another thing I didn't like about this book was the whole gold farming subplot. Personally, I think this graphic novel tried to take on more than it could chew in so few pages. It was trying to tackle so many social issues, and I think it just should have stuck to the feminism one and left the whole gold farming aspect out of it completely. It was very simplified. It didn't do the issue of Chinese workers any justice, and I felt that it was breaching on white savior narrative and coming in using Western ideals to solve this Chinese boy's problems, and then everything's fine in the end because of Anda saves the day, this white girl in America saves the day. That's essentially what the story is doing, and I did not like that at all. So I really like some things, really didn't like some things. So for that reason, I gave this book 3 stars. If you're interested in gaming, I would recommend it. You'd probably understand it a little bit more than me. However, I just felt that the gold farming aspect was it wasn't done well enough for me to give this any higher than 3 stars. The next book I read this month was The Reptile Room by Lemony Snicket. I was really excited for this after reading the first book and watching the first 2 episodes of the Netflix series. I was really excited to read The Reptile Room, and I don't know, it could have just been my mood, but I did not like this one as much as the first one. I gave this 3 stars. I thought it was okay, but I didn't like this one as much as the first, and I also didn't like the Netflix adaptation of this one as much as the first. So I'm not really sure why. I can't really pinpoint why I didn't like this one as much. Honestly, it might have just been my mood, but I don't know. I think there's just something missing that I can't put my finger on in this one. It might have been the climax came too early and there wasn't a lot of mysterious build-up like there was in the first one. This one was very predictable. I knew everything that was going to happen. Maybe that was it. I don't know. The third book I read in June was The Book of Negroes by, this is a really big book, The Book of Negroes by Lawrence Hill. This I cannot recommend enough. It was so good. It is immediately on my top favorite books of all time. So good. Instant 5 stars. I knew I was going to give it 5 stars before I even finished it. It's so perfect and heartbreaking and beautiful. It's actually indescribable to say how good this book is. I would just pick it up right now. I don't care how you get it. You need this book in your life. Also, I would highly recommend getting this in the illustrated edition, which is what I read. It just includes actual paintings, photographs, historical documents, historical artifacts that I think were vital to my reading experience. So I'll tell you what it's about. It's actually it's huge. It chronicles a journey of this main character's life. Her name is Aminata, and it's split into 4 parts. So there's 4 significant parts of this woman's life. And this is actually historical fiction, but what the author did was he took this fictional character and used her as sort of a way to allow you to see through her eyes and view actual historical figures and events. So although the main character was fictional, the people she interacted with and the events that she encountered were actually true historical events. I learned so much from this book, and I've actually taught this time period before, and I didn't know as much as I know now. So anyways, yes, I'll tell you what it's about. This book is split into 4 parts. The first part is Aminata and her life growing up in Africa and her capture by the slave trade and sent to America, South Carolina. The second part is her continuing to grow up in her teenage years on a plantation. And then the third part is what actually captured me about this story is the story of the Black Loyalists. So during the American Revolution, the British government offered the black slaves freedom and a farm in Nova Scotia if they would join the Loyalists. So a lot of black slaves, they joined the Loyalists so that they would be given freedom and a farm in Nova Scotia once the war was over. The British did send about 3,000 black loyalists to Nova Scotia and surrounding area. So the reason this book is actually titled The Book of Negroes is because all the black loyalists who were given their freedom in Nova Scotia had to write their names down in the Book of Negroes. And this historical document is actually, parts of it are shown in this book, and the actual historical document is still held in a museum in Birchtown, Nova Scotia. So that is why it's called the Book of Negroes, and I thought that was really interesting. And of course, they were not given the freedom and a farm that they were promised. They were free, but they did not have their own land, and the people in the area did not treat them well. So that's the third part of this character's life. And then the fourth part is actually her return to Africa. So the black loyalists in Nova Scotia, they were protesting the British government, and a man went to England himself. This is true, and it's recorded in this book. But he went to England himself, and he fought for the black loyalists, and he said, "We don't have enough land in Nova Scotia, you promised us land." So the British government set up a free town in Africa. This is where the black loyalists were promised to have their farm and their land. So she goes back there, and we can see all the trials and tribulations of her journey back to Africa. I know that was a long summary, but those are just the key events that happen, but there's so much more. There's so much. This book is written so well. You really get into the character's head, and I have learned so much from this book. I can't recommend it enough. You need to pick it up. This is actually the Canadian title, and I think the international title is Someone Knows My Name, and that's just because the title was seen as offensive in some parts of the world, but the reason it is titled this way is because the actual historical document is titled The Book of Negroes. So just to explain that, if you haven't seen this book by this title before, then the fourth book I read this month was How to Be You by Jeffrey Marsh. This was such an uplifting and inspirational book. Basically a book about discovering yourself and finding out who you are, and that it's important to be who you are and not to try to be someone else, because who you are is what the world needs. The ideas about how to discover yourself and how to be true to you really resonated with me, and I would highly encourage this book. It's full of personal activities and little tidbits, and it's actually written so that anyone can gain something from it. Some of the chapters are titled Trust Yourself, Don't Try to Be Perfect, Have Your Emotions, Get Used to Not Knowing. Those are just some of the chapters, but I thought they were very inspirational and I would recommend this. I gave this one 4 stars. And then the last book I have read so far this June is finally Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. This has taken me honestly almost a year, because I just start it and then I put it down and then I get invested in something else. But as you know, this book is quite large, and don't hate me, but this is my least favorite book in the series. I gave this 3 stars. I just had a lot of problems with it. Don't worry, Rose, there's no spoilers here. But so the good things about this, it's of course Harry Potter. The world is fantastic. I really felt like this book is one where you really feel like you're living with the characters, so you really feel immersed in this world, and it feels really realistic. And there's a lot of boring things and mundane things that are going on, which makes the book a little bit boring, but at the same time it makes you feel like you're really there with all the kids, going to school with them, and I really appreciated that. The things I didn't like were there's a lot of unnecessary events that happen in here that honestly just didn't need to be there. There were a lot of loopholes in the magic that I didn't like. I could talk to you more about that, but I would get into spoilers. I know it's a children's book and I should just look past these things and suspend my belief for a little bit, but it's just very blatant things that bother me. And then the ending, there was a little situation that happened at the ending that I thought was not well done in the book. However, I watched the movie yesterday, and I must say, the ending was so good in the movie. It made me, I was bawling. I didn't feel that with the book. So this is actually a rare situation where I'm just going to be very honest and admit that I liked the movie better than the book. And that's not for any of the other ones. All the other books in this series I have absolutely loved it. But in my very humble opinion, being very honest with you, I like the movie version of this better. Primarily the ending. I just thought the ending was a lot better in the movie than how it was written in the book. But yeah, I'm glad I finished this. I actually have never read past the 4th book, so this is my first time finishing this, and I'm excited to read the last 2 because I know they're amazing and I'm excited to get to them. This one, I just have meh feelings about. Yeah, so those are the 5 books I've read so far. I'm currently reading The Raven Boys, and that'll be in my part 2 June wrap-up, and it just started thundering. So I was planning to go for a walk after this, but I'll probably not now. Also, since it's now fully fledged summertime, I'm going to be starting to read more YA books and more contemporary, because that's what I really like to read in the summer, especially really summery YA contemporary. So I have some Morgan Matson books in my TBR that I am going to be reading, and I'm going on vacation next week, so time to read some YA contemporary. Anyway, so that's all from me. Hope to see you again next week, and we'll be talking about books some more. Have a great day. Bye.